kill me.
With pleasure, I ask.
As kids growing up in the mid-80s and the early 90s, we had a lot of options to choose from when it came to animated programming. On one side, we had the toy-based cartoons like Masters of the Universe and Transformers, which delivered on the action and the fantasy front. On the other hand, we had G.I. Joe and TMNT, which had thrills combined with action. In between these blockbusters, there were a few shows that had ambitions and scope, but never became the raging success they deserved to be. In this respect, the one show that I always think of is The Pirates of Darkwater, which ran from 1991 to 1993 and was created by David Kirschner for Hanna-Barbera. On paper, the show had everything going for it: rooted in mature characters, relatable quest, detailed world building, and elaborate rules of magic and fantasy. It even had A-list voice actors like Peter Cullen and Tim Curry, but its tumultuous production and syndication history made it one of the most troubled American animated series of the era. In this video, we will talk about this short-lived fantasy show and delve deep into its plot, how it ended, and many more interesting aspects. So, without further delay, let's get into it. Before the Quest: How a childhood pirate fantasy became Hanna-Barbera's biggest gamble. Before talking about the plot of the show, let us take a peek into the origins of the Pirates of Darkwater. Creator and Hanna-Barbera president and CEO David Kirschner, who had previously created the Rose Petal Place property and originated the story for the 1986 animated film An American Tale, had a passion for medieval heroes and pirate adventure stories since his childhood. As Kirschner recalled in a 1991 interview, "I wasn't very good at sports, so I'd climb up to the top bunk of my bed and conquer the world with H.G. Wells, Edgar Rice Burroughs, and illustrator N.C. Wyeth, who was and is my great hero." Meanwhile, Hanna-Barbera also wanted to make a show which would be unlike anything they produced till now, a heavily serialized fantasy quest. The project had its origin not as a standard weekly cartoon, but as a 5-part miniseries. Fox reportedly wanted to check the initial reception before deciding whether it could support an ongoing Saturday morning series. Titled Darkwater, it premiered on Fox as part of its Fox Kids lineup in February 1991. It was one of the most expensive shows produced by Hanna-Barbera in that period, with an approximate cost of $500,000 per episode. To promote the show, Hanna-Barbera marketed the miniseries as a major event, with some of the promotional material drawing comparisons to a Star Wars-style fantasy adventure. Despite its high animation quality and spectacular visuals, the miniseries did not generate the level of audience response Fox was hoping for, and it was not picked up as a regular Fox Saturday morning series. Rather than receiving a full season on Fox, the miniseries was re-edited into the opening 5 episodes of a 13-episode first season that aired on ABC weekly from October to December 1991. The voice cast of the show was the same as that of the miniseries and consisted of George Newbern, Jodie Benson, Hector Elizondo, Brock Peters, Earl Bowen, and Neil Ross. However, Niddler was voiced by Frank Welker in the series instead of Roddy McDowall, who played the character in the original miniseries. The show received a favorable reception from critics who praised its serious tone, animation, and watercolor backgrounds. This was a big deal for an original animated project of that period, which was not an adaptation of any existing property like TMNT or MOTU. However, it was also clearly inspired by popular culture. We can see traces of sword and sorcery fantasies like Robert E. Howard's Conan the Barbarian, and even Masters of the Universe cartoons, which depicted a similar fantasy world with magical creatures all around. The costumes and architecture echo Arabian Nights, while the overall structure borrows from serialized quest narratives like The Odyssey, Lord of the Rings, Beowulf, etc. In terms of the overall design and the quests, you can also see inspirations from classics like Jules Verne's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, R.L. Stevenson's Treasure Island, and Herman Melville's Moby Dick. Although it was noticeably influenced by these materials, the series was a purely original creation that had a lot of innovative concepts. For instance, The world of Myr was conceptualized as an ocean planet with 20 seas which had no resemblance to the planet Earth. The planet mostly consisted of water, while the episodes took place on different islands. This allowed the writers to go all out. They brought in pirates, unique flora and fauna, magic, monsters, weird technologies, etc., and mixed them within the genre of quest adventures. For instance, the ships shown in the series were all intricately built and had powers of their own which helped their respective owners. The extremely detailed world building, coupled with great characters and an easy-to-follow narrative, made the show a gripping watch right from its very first episode. The mission: 13 treasures against an ocean that was alive. The Pirates of Darkwater revolved around Prince Ren, the young prince of the Octopon Kingdom, and his quest to find the 13 treasures of rule. These 13 treasures are the only way to save Myr from dark water, a semi-sentient black liquid which is rapidly consuming the planet and will soon devour every living being on its surface. In the first episode, Ren gets to know about his lineage and is given the quest by his dying father, King Primus. In his final moments, Primus also gives him a magic compass and his broken sword to help in his journey. After realizing the gravity of the situation, Ren assembles his ragtag crew to embark on this dangerous mission in a stolen ship known as the Wraith. The crew consisted of Ayaz, a greedy mercenary, and Tula, an ecomancer who can control both living and non-living beings and various elements. Then there's my personal favorite, Niddler, a monkey bird mutant, who is an eternally hungry yet surprisingly loyal companion for our heroes. However, their quest is filled with a lot of dangerous threats. The recurring enemies include the Dark Dweller, the creator of Dark Water, his dark disciples, and his servant Morpho, all of whom pose significant threats through Ren's quest. And to make matters worse, the crew is relentlessly pursued by the villainous pirate leader Bloth, who wants to take the treasures to control the Dark Water and lord over everyone. 17 years before the series, Bloth destroyed Primus' fleet and captured the king and his aide for the treasure. However, the captains of the fleet escaped with the treasures, and since then, Bloth has been in pursuit. On this journey, Bloth is joined by his group of minions, Mantus, Conch, and the Lug brothers, and his pet monster, the Constrictus, who lives inside his monstrous pirate ship, the Maelstrom. Throughout the course of the episodes, they pose significant challenges to Ren and his team, but the heroes emerge victorious through all of them. As you can already guess, the show had some great imagery, character designs, and fluid character movements, which was not at all common in the 90s. Even though it was structured like a quest narrative, the show dealt with a lot of themes including slavery, greed, and the price of responsibility, and the importance of a team. As I mentioned before, the show was heavily serialized, and thus the hero and his crew have a well-written character arc throughout the 21 episodes. Prince Ren begins the show as a young, amateur, ordinary guy who matures into a responsible leader as the show progresses. Similarly, the mostly selfish Ayaz becomes less egoistic and became a protective figure for Ren, and also sometimes put his life at risk for him. Also, the show had a simple yet well-rounded premise, and the basic structure of the show promised the viewers a natural 13-stage quest, which gets increasingly difficult as it progresses. This set structure suggested that the creators had an intended ending for Ren's quest, but unfortunately, the series never reached it. After the first season, the final 8 episodes of the show aired in first-run syndication as part of the fantastic world of Hanna-Barbera. To put things into perspective, first-run syndicated shows were sold directly to local stations across the USA and were broadcast at different times based on the market. For an ongoing show, moving to first-run syndication often reflected a changing broadcast strategy, although it did not necessarily mean the series was about to end. The Pirates of Dark Water, unfortunately, was no exception, and the 8th episode of the second season turned out to be the last aired episode of the entire series. The episode that accidentally became the finale. Titled The Living Treasure, the accidental final episode was written by Kim Kostolupez, Mark Cavanoff, and Glenn Leopold. The episode begins with the crew embarking on another treasure hunt on the Wraith. As they begin their journey, they are attacked by Bloth's crew with arrows. With the help of Ayaz and Tula, Ren temporarily defeats the pirate crew. However, this confrontation brings out the problems between Ayaz and Tula that were apparent from the very first episode. They continue bickering as Ayaz wants to get rid of the present crew since he thinks they are incompatible. Furthermore, Tula is not fond of Ayaz since he is openly hateful towards her because of her gender. Ren tries to stop them but fails predictably. Niddler, meanwhile, is gone on his separate path to find food in a nearby freighter and falls asleep afterwards. As the freighter is attacked by dangerous water monsters near an island, Niddler narrowly escapes them and flies away to his crew. Back on the Wraith, Niddler informs them about the creature and the attack of arrows that he escaped from. The crew agrees to give it a check, since Ren realized that the next treasure is on an island located in the same direction, as per the compass. As they explore the island on their glider, they are attacked by a lot of arrows. Ren realizes that the treasure is indeed on the island, but strangely enough, the magic compass indicates that it is moving rapidly. Unable to withstand this sudden attack, the glider crashes inside the island. As they recover after the crash, they soon encounter a mysterious blue creature who is freed by Ren from one of the island's traps. As soon as he saves the creature is captured by a group of Amazon-like women warriors who take Ayaz and Ren captive since they helped the creature escape. They then command them to serve the island. Tula, on the other hand, tries to save her companions and fails miserably. But seeing her fierce fighting spirit, the queen of the island decides to let her go. Meanwhile, Niddler gets impatient following Ren's instructions to wait on the Wraith and decides to check up on the crew on the island. As he flies across the island, he discovers the broken glider and the blue creature. Turns out the creature has magical powers, and it is helpful towards Niddler. As he again gets attacked by arrows, Niddler realizes that the crew might be in danger and decides to rescue them. Elsewhere, Ren and Ayaz are given life sentences to serve as hard laborers on the island despite their reluctance. Tula joins the guard of the warriors after confessing to the queen that she is fed up with Ayaz and his hateful ways. As Ren and Ayaz are forced into hard labor, Niddler keeps track of them from a distance. Tula slowly gains the trust of the queen by severely whipping her former crew members. As night falls on the island, Tula tries to free her crew by breaking the lock of their cell. However, she is interrupted by the tribe captain, who was always doubtful of Tula's behavior. Soon after, the queen learns of the betrayal. As proof of her loyalty, she orders Tula to fight Ren in a combat by the cliff. Tula agrees to her command, and soon discovers Niddler hiding inside a well and reveals her actual plan. The next day, as the warriors gather for the combat, Tula finds out that they have finally captured the blue creature, or pest. She soon realizes that this creature is the treasure they were looking for and begins the combat. She throws both Ren and Ayaz off the cliff by the sea without much difficulty and proves herself as a true warrior of the island, but they are saved by Niddler, who was waiting by the cliff as per Tula's plan. They arrive near the glider to repair it, but find themselves surrounded by Bloth and his minions. Bloth takes the compass, and they all realize that the treasure is still inside the village. Bloth leaves them to die in a pit full of sea monsters, but they manage to escape them. In the village, Tula tries to free the creature but is instead caught by the warriors. They try to kill her, but are interrupted by Bloth and his team. A fight breaks out, and Tula frees the creature with her ecomancing skills. Soon, the crew arrives in the glider and saves Tula and the living treasure. Niddler gets hold of the compass again from Bloth, and the villains are again defeated by our heroic crew. As they gather on the Wraith again, Ayaz appreciates Tula's fighting skills and finally accepts her as a part of their crew. Later, back in Octopon, the crew tests the treasure's abilities. They discover that it can restore life to the desolate kingdom, causing vegetation to bloom once again. They realize that they are closer to their quest and set sail for their next adventure. Although this was the last episode of the series, the story followed the structure of a normal adventure instead of tying up all the loose ends. We didn't get any final confrontation against the Dark Dwellers or Bloth, nor did we get to know about the true nature of the Dark Water. There were 5 more quests left after the last episode, which makes the ending much more frustrating for fans of the show. And as for me, the most disappointing aspect was we were just getting to know the varied extent of the powers of the Treasures of Rule, and how exactly they were going to defeat the Dark Water. As you can clearly guess from the ending of this episode, the show was cancelled abruptly instead of being ended creatively. We never got any canonical resolution of the quest, and to this day, the show remains unfinished. The series' high production cost, changing broadcasters, and modest commercial performance are frequently cited as factors behind its short run, although no definitive contemporary explanation for its cancellation has ever been established. Its heavily serialized storytelling also made it more demanding for viewers to follow than most animated shows of the period. You could compare it to the Fox sitcom Arrested Development, which was cancelled after 3 seasons because of low ratings, although its heavily serialized storytelling is often cited as making it less accessible to casual viewers. Even though Arrested Development had a sort of conclusion in its original run, Netflix revived it in 2013 for 2 additional seasons. Unfortunately for the fans of the Pirates of Darkwater, there has been no such good news on the horizon. Although today's media environment is more receptive to serialized animation, there has been no official announcement of a continuation or reboot from Warner Brothers or any streaming platform. There is still consistent interest among old and new fans of the show on Reddit forums and other social media platforms. So, we can hope for a comeback for the series in the near future to provide closure for our heroes and the fans who have been waiting for one for more than 3 decades. The cast after Darkwater, from Murr to Disney, DC, and Transformers. As mentioned earlier, the series had an impressive list of voice actors, many of whom enjoyed successful careers in live action and voice roles afterwards. George Newbern, who played Wren, had a recurring role in the popular ABC political thriller Scandal, and also played the role of Brian McKenzie in the Father of the Bride series of films. In animation, Newbern was most noted for voicing Clark Kent/Superman in Justice League Unlimited, Justice League, Static Shock, among other DC properties. Jodie Benson, the voice of Tula, was already famous for being the voice of Ariel in the Little Mermaid franchise. Later, Benson also voiced Barbie in Toy Story 2 and 3. Apart from these, Benson is also noted for her performance in other Disney ventures like the House of Mouse series and 101 Dalmatians 2, Patch's London Adventure, among others. She was officially named a Disney legend in 2011 for her iconic voice roles and continues to voice Ariel in many versions along with other roles. Hector Elizondo, who voiced Ayaz, was a well-respected dramatic actor who brought in a varied range of emotions to his performance as the character instead of making it a broad caricature. Elizondo went on to have an illustrious career in live-action roles. He is mostly known for his Emmy Award-winning role as Philip Waters in the TV series Chicago Hope. Apart from that, he also appeared in films like Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Princess Diaries, etc. Frank Welker, who was the voice of Niddler, the Dark Dweller, and one of the Lug brothers in the series, is considered one of the most prolific voice actors of all time. Welker's most prominent role is that of Fred Jones in the Scooby-Doo franchise, a character he has voiced in numerous productions from 1969. He also voiced Scooby-Doo since 2002. Welker has also been the main voice of Garfield in different media properties from 2007. He is also known for his performance as various characters in Matt Groening's sci-fi animated comedy Futurama and voicing Megatron and Soundwave along with other characters in the original Transformers animated series and later properties. Roddy McDowall, who played Niddler in the original miniseries, passed away in 1998 and had portrayed a wide variety of roles in his almost 60-year-old career. He was most popular for playing Caesar and Cornelius in the Planet of the Apes series, and also appeared in prominent roles in films like The Poseidon Adventure and The Legend of Hell House. He also voiced Mad Hatter in the DC animated universe and Mr. Soil in the 1998 Disney film A Bug's Life. Peter Cullen, the voice of Mantus in the show, is best known for voicing Optimus Prime in the Transformers original animated series and in the live-action films. He is also widely known for other voice roles, such as Eeyore in the Winnie the Pooh franchise, Thetis in Invincible, and Monterey Jack in Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. Tim Curry voiced Blot's henchman Conk and worked across film, television, theater, and voice roles throughout his illustrious career. Curry is regarded for his iconic roles as Dr. Frankenfurter in the 1975 film The Rocky Horror Picture Show and Pennywise the Clown in the 1990 It miniseries. He also won an Emmy for his voice acting as Captain Hook on Peter Pan and the Pirates, and also played Chancellor Palpatine/Darth Sidious in Star Wars The Clone Wars animated series. In 2012, Curry suffered a major stroke, following which he reduced his live-action roles but continued doing voice roles and public appearances. Brock Peters played the main antagonist Bloth, and was best known for his performances in To Kill a Mockingbird and the 1959 film Porgy and Bess. Peters also voiced Darth Vader in the radio drama adaptations of the original Star Wars trilogy and portrayed Admiral Cartwright in 2 Star Trek films, as well as the recurring role of Joseph Sisko in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He continued working in voice roles and live action till his unfortunate death in 2005 from pancreatic cancer. Very much like the careers of its voice actors, the show also expanded in different media after its cancellation, which somehow managed to compensate for its untimely cancellation. What came next? Comics, toys, games, and a tabletop expansion of Myr. Like other successful cartoon series of that period, like G.I. Joe and Transformers, The Pirates of Dark Water was also designed as a multimedia franchise. Hasbro launched a toy line based on the series in 1991. Each figure had its own number printed on a card next to the character name so fans could keep track of the series. Featuring characters such as Ren, Bloth, Mantus, Zuli, along with the Wraith, the toy line was short-lived and ended alongside the series. However, the series also received a 6-part miniseries treatment from Marvel Comics in September 1991. The miniseries was an adaptation of the show and ran till February 1992. Marvel later extended the series by 3 additional issues featuring an original story, which ran from March 24, 1992 to May 26, 1992. Although the comics expanded the storyline, it never completed the original 13 Treasure Quest, which was the main plotline of the animated series. The series also got multiple video game adaptations which were released after the show. The game was released for Sega Genesis and Super NES platforms and was published by Sunsoft. In the Super NES version, you have to choose between the characters of Ren, Tula, or Ioz and fight Bloth's pirate gang. The characters in this beat-em-up format had special attacks and the ability to block as well. The 1994 Sega version is a side-scrolling action game which had elements of role-playing and questing in it. Apart from being a decent gaming experience, the Genesis version offers its own conclusion to the quest, although it is generally regarded as part of the game's continuity rather than the animated series' official ending. Also, a tabletop role-playing game and worldbook were released in 1994. In these materials, we got additional information about the world of Myr, the creatures, ships, and cultures which the show never had the scope or time to explore. These games helped fans to go back to the fabulous world of Myr and expand on the exciting lore of a series which was never allowed to finish its original run. So, this has been all from my side. What do you think of the show? Let us know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. See you on the next one.